We've all had this moment at least once. You walk into a strange place, and a strange feeling creeps in. This scene, I feel like I've seen it before. Even while talking to someone for the first time, it feels as if those words have already been spoken somewhere in the past. The sensation is so vivid that even saying "maybe I dreamt it" doesn't quite explain it. This psychological phenomenon, where the present moment feels like a past experience, is called déjà vu, a French term meaning already seen. It's more than just a fleeting feeling. Many people are convinced, "I'm sure I've lived this moment before." The sensation often comes with chills or a sudden wave of unease. This phenomenon is incredibly common. According to Dr. Ann Brown, a neuropsychologist at Colorado State University, around 60 to 70% of people report having experienced déjà vu at least once in their lives. It's most frequent between adolescence and the early 30s, and gradually declines with age. So then, why and how does the brain produce this sensation? One leading explanation is the memory error theory. It proposes that déjà vu occurs when the brain mistakenly categorizes a current experience as a memory. For example, if visual information sent to the temporal lobe of the brain experiences a slight delay or abnormal transmission, the brain may incorrectly process it as a past memory. In other words, what's actually a short-term memory gets misfiled as long-term memory, causing the event to feel familiar. However, some argue that déjà vu is too precise, too exact, to be just a brain glitch. They suggest that it might be a glimpse of patterns we unconsciously recognize, or fragments of a reality that's looping. In fact, some individuals report not just a sense of familiarity, but an accurate anticipation of what happens next. They predict what will occur in the next few seconds and are often right. Such experiences defy simple explanations based on memory. Are they remnants of prophetic dreams? Memories from the future? We don't know. But we now stand at a question. Is déjà vu merely an error in perception, or a fragmented exposure to the hidden structure of time? Déjà vu is often labeled a memory glitch. But why does the brain make such a mistake? Neuroscience offers the first line of explanation. The hippocampus and temporal lobe are central structures in the brain's memory formation and recall. The hippocampus stores new information and compares it to past experiences, while the temporal lobe sequences sensory inputs over time and organizes events. Some studies suggest that during déjà vu, both regions become simultaneously active. Neurons associated with memory react to a new scene, even if you've never seen it before. And that's where the confusion begins. When new information enters, the brain must instantly decide, is this a new experience or something from the past? But if the incoming data feels overly familiar, or if there's even a tiny delay in sensory processing, the brain may mistakenly classify it as a memory. This confusion often happens when multiple sensory pathways are involved. For example, if visual input reaches the brain slightly before auditory input, your brain might interpret the second input as a repeat, an experience you've already seen. This is called the dual processing delay theory. It suggests that déjà vu isn't a simple memory slip, but a momentary mismatch in the brain's multi-channel processing speed. Another theory blames the brain's reality monitoring system, the process that distinguishes between imagined events and real ones. Under stress, fatigue, or sensory overload, this system can weaken. The result? You might confuse what you're seeing now with something you once dreamed or imagined. And yet, déjà vu can feel like more than just a misfire. Some experiences go beyond familiarity into exact prediction. People sense what will happen next, and it unfolds just as expected. Is this too just a mental error, or could the brain be catching fragments of information from dimensions we don't yet understand? Science tries to explain, but it hasn't yet completed the puzzle of déjà vu. All we know for certain is this. The brain can make the present feel like the past, or even the future. We tend to think of time as a straight line. Past, present, future. It flows in one direction, and once it passes, it's gone. But this idea wasn't always common sense. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus once said, "You cannot step into the same river twice." Time flows, yes, but does it always move forward in a straight line? In the 20th century, this assumption was shaken by Albert Einstein. Einstein's theory of relativity revealed that time isn't absolute. It bends and stretches depending on speed and gravity. In other words, what we experience as time is not a fixed flow, but a subjective phenomenon based on our conditions. Take GPS satellites. They experience time slightly faster than we do on Earth. That discrepancy has to be corrected daily, proof that time isn't universal. So what does physics say about déjà vu? Quantum theory offers strange but relevant insights. Superposition, a particle existing in multiple states, non-locality, instant connections across space, and wave function collapse, reality solidifying only when observed. Together they suggest reality may not be fixed. It might be a selection from many overlapping possibilities. Enter the multiverse theory. It proposes that parallel realities coexist, one where you wore a blue shirt today, another where you wore red. Under this idea, déjà vu happens when timelines overlap. You're not recalling the past. You're feeling a moment another you already lived in a different dimension. This is still theoretical, but many physicists and philosophers leave the door open, especially when faced with vivid sensations that defy current science. So that scene you just experienced, was it a memory from the future or a ripple from a nearby timeline? Maybe time isn't a line after all. Maybe it's layers we occasionally feel brushing against us. Déjà vu is often described as a sense of familiarity, but is it just a sensory glitch or a flaw in how we construct reality? Psychologists call it a false match between perception and memory. When what you see or hear now partially resembles something from your past, your brain can mistake the whole scene for one you've lived before. This is called the memory match hypothesis. Your brain doesn't store or compare full scenes. It latches onto key features, layout, lighting, voice tone, or scent, and if enough of these match a prior experience, it signals recognition. But here's the twist, that past memory may not actually exist. Many who experience déjà vu say, "I know I've seen this before, but I have no idea when or where." It's not that the memory is vague. It might never have been recorded in the first place, yet the feeling is intense. Not vague familiarity, but certainty. People claim to know what's about to happen next. So we must ask, is this just an error in perception, or is perception catching something beyond our awareness? Philosophers have long debated whether perception reflects reality or creates it. Plato said reality was only a shadow of higher forms. Kant argued we don't perceive the thing itself. We perceive reality as filtered through our cognitive structures. Maybe déjà vu is a crack in that structure. For instance, our brains process visual data with a slight delay, about 0.1 seconds. We're always living in the past, just a little. When delays or sensory noise stack up, past and present can briefly overlap, and that overlap becomes déjà vu. When metacognition, our ability to reflect on our own thoughts, kicks in too strongly, we momentarily see ourselves from outside the moment, and reality, imagination, memory, and prediction begin to blur. Perhaps déjà vu isn't a sensory error at all. It's a momentary collapse in the architecture of perception, revealing how thin the line is between now, then, and maybe. Modern science views déjà vu as a memory error, but across history, many cultures saw it not as a glitch, but as a sign, a warning, or a glimpse into something deeper. In ancient civilizations, religions, and mystical traditions, déjà vu was rarely psychological. It was a signal from the divine, a trace of reincarnation, or a moment of destiny. 1. Buddhism. A moment of reincarnated memory. In Buddhism, déjà vu is often seen as a flash of memory from a previous life. A place, a person, or a situation you've never encountered before, yet it feels deeply familiar. Especially when the structure of a room, the shape of a face, or the sound of a voice triggers the sensation. It's interpreted as an echo of karmic connections from long ago. Rather than fear, this view encourages acceptance. This isn't a mistake. It's a reminder that your soul has been here before. 2. Greek mythology, a glimpse into fate. To the ancient Greeks, déjà vu was tied to Moira, the goddess of fate. If the gods had already written the script of human life, then déjà vu was the sensation of brushing up against your predestined path. Plato wrote in Phaedrus that all souls saw truth before birth. We don't learn, we remember. That's why the sensation of familiarity feels so deep. It's not from this life, it's from before. 3. Medieval Christianity, divine order or demonic trick. In medieval Europe, déjà vu had two faces. One was divine, a revelation, a pattern from God's grand design. The other was dangerous, a deception planted by the devil to confuse your senses. Mystics believed time was cyclical under God's will, and that déjà vu was a moment when a repeated truth broke through reality. Yet others saw it as temptation, false memories planted to mislead you from the righteous path. Either way, it was never just a mistake. 4. Taoism, a cycle of returning time. In Taoist philosophy, all things cycle, seasons return, rivers bend and rejoin, and human life repeats. In the Zhuangzi, a passage wonders, did I dream I was a butterfly, or am I now a butterfly dreaming I'm a man? Here, the boundary between dream, life, and perception dissolves. Déjà vu, then, is the recognition of a place you've already passed in the great return of cosmic movement. 5. Modern occult, an awakened code. In theosophy and modern occultism, déjà vu is the surfacing of latent knowledge. The moment you say, I've been here before, you may be tapping into collective unconscious or ancient memory. It's not just memory, it's a message. Some believe it marks moments when higher forces are attempting contact. In short, no culture viewed déjà vu as mere error. Instead, it was a fleeting crack in the surface of reality, a sign that something deeper, older, or larger had touched you. So the question stands, does modern science truly know more, or have thousands of years of human intuition seen something we're still blind to? Theories are compelling, but what draws people to déjà vu are the real stories, testimonies from those who felt time twist in front of them. Case 1. I knew the cat would jump out. A college student shared, I was walking with a friend on campus, never been there before. Suddenly I thought, a cat is about to run out from that tree. And seconds later, it did. He's sure he'd never been there, but he somehow knew. Not similar, not vague, exact. Case 2. I'd already said these words. A man recalls his job interview. I sat down, nervous. The interviewer asked a question, and I just knew what I was going to say. I'd done this before. I answered like a machine, not rehearsed, remembered. He got the job. And to this day, he insists, it wasn't practice. It was a moment I'd already lived. Case 3. The conversation wasn't new. A woman met a man for the first time, but as he asked a question, she knew what he would say and what she would say back. I'd already had this talk, line for line. It wasn't a setting. It was the entire narrative that felt familiar. Case 4. I'd never been there, yet I knew the layout. A man on a work trip entered an old building for the first time, but he knew everything. Where the stairs led, where the doors opened, where the emergency exit was. I'd never seen the blueprint, never visited anything like it, but I walked like I belonged. Too detailed, too precise. Not just a feeling, a memory without a source. Psychologists say, distorted memory, sensory overlap, coincidence. But how do we explain feelings that are too accurate, timings that are too sharp, patterns that are too repeated? Every witness says the same thing. It wasn't my first time. Is déjà vu simply the brain misfiring? Or is it evidence that our lives are already written? Do we choose anything? We like to think life is a series of choices. But déjà vu undermines that confidence. I thought I was walking this road for the first time, but it felt like I'd already done it. Even my words, they felt repeated. What if you're not making choices, but just walking a looped segment of time? Patterns repeating. In psychology, there's a term, repetition compulsion. It means we unconsciously reenact old patterns, even when we think we're making fresh decisions. Déjà vu might be that pattern revealing itself, not because of trauma, but because you've walked this line before. Is time fixed? Some physics theories argue for eternalism, the idea that past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. The present isn't unique, it's just where your consciousness happens to be. Déjà vu might be the moment your awareness grazes a point already mapped. Is life a script? Jean-Paul Sartre said, "Man is born without essence. He defines himself through existence." We write our lives page by page, but déjà vu feels like you've already read this paragraph before, not authored it, relived it. That isn't freedom, that's recursion. Are we living a loop? Maybe every choice you make is already part of the sequence, and maybe déjà vu is the part where you remember the script. Even your doubt may be déjà vu. You think you're watching this video for the first time, but are you? Right now, you might feel this scene, this pacing, this voice, has all happened before. Déjà vu isn't just a sensation. It's a question embedded in time. Memory can fail. Brains can glitch. But some feelings are so clear they whisper, "You know this, you've been here." We believe life happens only once. But déjà vu asks, are you sure? If life is random, why do moments feel repeated? Is it a bug, or is it the pattern? And if right now you feel like you've seen this video before, maybe you have. Maybe this isn't the first time. Maybe you're living this moment again.